Imagine signing up for a job where you spend over 2 weeks straight working without a proper day off, where the familiar comforts of everyday life become distant memories fading into the background. 17 days, to be exact, with no weekends to unwind, no easy excuses to call in sick, and no chance to sneak away early just to breathe fresh air or see the world beyond your work zone. Instead, it's relentless labor under an endless, roaring soundtrack of machinery and ocean waves. Your entire existence compresses down to a colossal steel platform, floating miles from shore, a sprawling, complex city of pipes, heavy equipment, and narrow corridors, suspended above thousands of feet of churning sea. This floating fortress is your home, your workplace, and your world. For nearly 3 weeks, life here follows a rhythm entirely unlike anything on land. It's a lifestyle that demands far more than just physical strength or skill. It demands mental toughness, a strict, almost military routine, and a camaraderie born from shared isolation and hardship. The first thing to grasp about working on an oil rig is that it operates on an unforgiving, relentless schedule. Drilling and maintenance never stop, not for holidays, not for weekends, not even for bad weather. It's a nonstop operation running 24/7, with crews working shifts that can stretch 12 hours or more. The typical rotation for many rigs might be something like 21 days on duty, followed by 21 days off, but those on days are often long, grueling stretches of continuous work with barely any real downtime. In some cases, workers endure 17 days straight of demanding shifts, with little chance to pause or rest beyond scheduled breaks. This kind of schedule puts every ounce of a person's stamina and mental willpower to the test. It's exhausting in every sense, physically draining from the sheer workload and mentally taxing from the unending noise, isolation, and pressure. But for those who choose this life, it's also familiar and strangely rewarding, a challenge they have learned to face and overcome again and again. Physical strength and stamina are critical on the rig. Workers spend their days climbing tall ladders, lugging heavy tools and equipment, monitoring gigantic machines, and navigating the platform's sprawling maze of catwalks, staircases, and tight spaces. The rig itself is constantly in motion. The steel structure creaks and vibrates as it sways with the ocean's push and pull, never truly resting. The constant hum of engines, punctuated by alarms and warning signals, creates an ever-present background noise that becomes impossible to ignore. Weather conditions only add to the challenge. Sudden storms can whip up howling winds and towering waves that batter the platform, turning it into a tempest-tossed fortress. Yet, what often wears workers down most isn't the brutal physicality or the extreme weather, but the mental toll of existing in such a confined, claustrophobic, and isolated environment for so long. Isolation is a quiet, creeping enemy that gnaws at even the toughest minds. Being cut off from the outside world, surrounded on all sides by endless ocean, can fray anyone's nerves and patience. Unlike most jobs, where you can step outside for a breath of fresh air, catch up with friends, or just change scenery when things get tough, life on a rig is compressed into a few square meters of cabin space, the communal dining hall, and the faces of the same coworkers day after day. The monotony and confinement can make it easy to feel overwhelmed or disconnected from reality. To prepare for this, many workers undergo psychological evaluations before even stepping foot on the rig. These tests assess a candidate's ability to handle long periods of social isolation, manage stress, and remain calm under pressure. This screening is not just a formality. The emotional and mental health risks are real and can be as dangerous as any physical hazard on the rig. Social isolation on an oil rig isn't simply about missing home or longing for loved ones. It's something deeper and more relentless. The grinding sameness of every single day, where every hour seems to melt into the next without much variation. There's no changing scenery, no spontaneous outings, no chance to step outside for fresh air or a quick walk to clear your head. Instead, you're confined within the same narrow steel walls, surrounded by the same handful of people day in and day out. That unchanging environment can feel suffocating, and the few moments of genuine privacy that do exist become incredibly precious, almost like hidden treasures to be guarded carefully. In such tight quarters, every noise is amplified. A sudden cough echoes louder than expected. The creaking of a door seems to fill the entire room, and whispered conversations can carry further than intended. It's a world where even the smallest sounds can disrupt your peace and make you feel more exposed than you'd imagine. When there's nowhere to escape to and no easy way to decompress, those minor irritations have a way of snowballing quickly into serious frustrations. A dripping faucet, a buzzing light, or a repetitive tapping can slowly erode your patience until it feels like the walls themselves are closing in on you. Unlike life on land, where a stressful day might end with a walk in the park or a quiet moment in your own home, here you're stuck in an endless loop with no clear exit. That's why mental resilience isn't just helpful, it's absolutely necessary. To push through those long shifts and the seemingly endless days, you have to develop a mindset that can handle monotony, noise, and constant proximity without losing focus or falling apart. It's a test of mental endurance as much as physical stamina, and not everyone can make it through without struggle. One of the ways workers cope with this tough reality is by leaning heavily on routine and structure to carve out a sense of normalcy in a world that otherwise feels unpredictable and overwhelming. Having a reliable schedule, knowing exactly when your shift starts and ends, when mealtimes occur, and when breaks are allotted becomes a lifeline. These predictable markers create mental checkpoints, giving both body and mind something steady to hold on to amid the constant hum and chaos of the rig. The regularity of daily rituals, from breakfast to exercise time to the evening wind down, helps anchor workers emotionally and mentally. Even though the setting is far from comfortable or familiar, these routines offer a thread of consistency that keeps everyone grounded, helping them maintain focus, energy, and a semblance of control over their demanding environment. Amid all these challenges, camaraderie becomes a lifeline. The shared experience of working 17 days straight, dealing with fatigue, noise, and isolation, bonds coworkers in ways few outside the rig can understand. Trust builds quietly and steadily through shared trials, emergency drills, long night shifts, grueling physical labor, and moments of quiet support when someone hits their limit. These relationships become anchors, giving workers emotional strength to keep going even when the job feels relentless. The rig's tight quarters and intense schedule mean there's no room for drama or petty conflicts. Everyone depends on each other for safety and sanity. Humor, rituals, and shared traditions help break the monotony and remind everyone that they're in it together. Understanding how oil rig workers endure 17 days straight without breaks means appreciating both the physical and mental aspects of their world. The strength of their bodies keeps the machinery running, but it's their mental endurance, discipline, and the invisible support network among the crew that truly sustain them. This isn't just a job, it's a way of life carved out amidst the waves and steel, demanding sacrifice, resilience, and a commitment few can fully grasp until they've lived it themselves. Despite the tough exterior that most oil rig workers put on, cabin fever is a very real and common challenge that nearly everyone faces at some point during those long rotations. When you first arrive, the novelty of being out at sea, surrounded by endless ocean and the buzz of the rig's machinery, can keep your spirits up for a little while. But by the third week, when the shine wears off and the isolation really starts to settle into your bones, even the smallest annoyances begin to feel amplified in ways that surprise you. Something as simple as hearing a coworker breathe a little too loudly in the cramped cabin space, or the repetitive clinking of someone stirring their coffee just a bit too forcefully, they can start to feel like a personal irritation that's impossible to ignore. Jokes told in the break room that would normally elicit a smile instead fall flat and somehow grate on your nerves. Under the constant pressure of long hours, limited privacy, and the unchanging routine, tensions flare more quickly than they would anywhere else. People snap at each other over things that, back home, they would have shrugged off without a second thought. It's a strange mix of exhaustion, stress, and that gnawing loneliness that does it, making everyone just a little more sensitive, a little more on edge. Yet, despite those moments when tempers flare and frustrations bubble to the surface, there's a deep, unspoken understanding running beneath it all. Everyone on that rig is going through the exact same mental and physical grind. There's no room for grudges or long-standing resentments when your daily survival depends on your ability to trust and rely on the people around you. Forgiveness becomes more than just a kindness. It's an essential tool for keeping peace and harmony within the crew. The ability to move past disagreements quickly, to reset and start fresh the next day, is what keeps the team functioning smoothly in such a confined and high-pressure environment. This unique combination of resilience and camaraderie isn't just a nice bonus. It forms the backbone of the entire operation. It's what allows the crew to endure the toughest stretches of their rotations. Those long, the relentless days where the isolation and fatigue threaten to wear anyone down and come through as a tight-knit unit ready to face whatever the ocean throws at them next. One of the most crucial coping strategies that workers develop for surviving these marathon stints is the power of routine. When you're living and working in a place that's constantly noisy, physically demanding, and unpredictably dangerous, having a stable, predictable schedule becomes a lifeline. It's easy to feel like you're adrift in a sea of chaos when the rig is always in motion, the ocean always moving, and the machines always running. But the daily schedules, shift rotations, and break times create pockets of order and normalcy. Shifts are broken down into repeatable, familiar tasks that soon become muscle memory, allowing workers to focus less on what's next and more on doing it well. Outside the work shifts, meal times, sleep periods, exercise breaks, and social moments all fit into a tightly managed schedule. This structure provides mental markers that help workers feel grounded, giving a sense of control in an otherwise uncontrollable environment. Mealtimes on the rig are a perfect example of this delicate balance between efficiency and social connection. With hundreds of people living on board but limited seating capacity in the dining hall, break times are staggered carefully to prevent overcrowding. This means that workers eat fast and clean up quickly to make way for the next group. While the menus rotate regularly to prevent monotony, after a while, dishes like Tuesday pasta or Friday fish become familiar landmarks in the weekly routine. These meal breaks aren't just about refueling. They're also one of the few chances workers get to catch up with colleagues, share a laugh, and momentarily escape the stress and intensity of the job. Similarly, the small gym area and cramped movie theater serve as essential outlets for mental health. Whether it's pounding away stress on the treadmill, hitting a punching bag, or zoning out with an old action flick, these spaces provide a much-needed mental breather and a way to connect with others in a less pressured setting. Perhaps the most daunting challenge for anyone working these long stretches is sleep. The cabins where workers rest are notoriously tiny, often shared between two people who work opposite shifts. Privacy is practically non-existent, with only a thin curtain separating bunks rather than a solid door, and the constant hum and vibration of the rig seeping through the walls and mattresses. The absence of natural light only compounds the problem, as days and nights blur into one continuous cycle without the usual sunrise and sunset cues that help regulate our internal clocks. Many workers struggle with disrupted circadian rhythms, especially those who switch between day and night shifts during their rotation. As a result, restful sleep becomes a rare and precious commodity. To cope, workers rely on earplugs to drown out noise, blackout masks to block out artificial lighting, and white noise machines to mask the rig's constant hum. Even with these tools, sleep deprivation often takes hold, leading to a condition known among crews as rig eyes, a glazed, unfocused stare where the body physically continues its duties, but the mind drifts dangerously close to exhaustion. This state of extreme fatigue is more than just uncomfortable. It's a serious safety hazard on the rig. Concentration here isn't just important, it can be a matter of life and death. Workers are trained not only to recognize signs of exhaustion in themselves, but also to watch for warning signs in their coworkers. Peer support becomes a crucial part of maintaining safety and mental health. When someone starts skipping the gym, loses their appetite, or withdraws from social interactions, it's often a red flag that their mental or physical health is deteriorating. Checking in on one another, offering a listening ear, or a simple gesture of support can prevent small issues from spiraling into accidents or emotional crises. The rig operates like a close-knit community, and keeping everyone safe means looking out for one another, because when one person falters, the entire crew is affected. Food on the rig is much more than just a basic necessity. It's a carefully orchestrated operation that requires precision and planning on a massive scale. Feeding hundreds of workers efficiently within the tight confines of the platform, especially when resupply ships only arrive every few weeks, presents a huge logistical challenge. Fresh fruits and vegetables are considered a luxury and arrive infrequently, so the kitchen teams must carefully balance nutrition with practicality. Menus are rotated regularly to avoid monotony, but eventually, workers become intimately familiar with the lineup of dishes, finding comfort in the predictability of Tuesday's pasta or Friday's fish. Eating on the rig isn't a leisurely experience. It's fast-paced and practical. Workers scarf down their meals quickly, clean their areas, and move aside for the next shift. Still, these brief meal breaks serve an important purpose. They break up the relentless grind, recharge bodies, and offer fleeting moments for social connection and lighthearted conversation, reminding everyone they're not alone in this demanding environment. Communication with family and friends off the rig is another vital, yet limited, lifeline that workers hold on to during their long rotations. While internet access does exist on most platforms, bandwidth is heavily restricted and prioritized for essential operational systems, which means streaming video calls or large downloads are often impossible, especially when weather conditions worsen. Workers learn to schedule their calls strategically, lining up to use shared terminals and keeping conversations short so others waiting behind them can have their turn. Text messaging quickly becomes the preferred mode of communication. It's a way to share quick updates, send encouragement, or check in emotionally without worrying about dropped calls or lag. Staying connected, even in this limited capacity, becomes an invaluable source of comfort and motivation for those spending weeks far from their loved ones. These snippets of interaction help ease the emotional weight of isolation and remind workers why they endure such tough conditions. Perhaps the single most powerful force that helps oil rig workers push through grueling 17-day stretches of non-stop work is the deep sense of teamwork and camaraderie that develops naturally from shared experience. The intense environment, from emergency drills that demand absolute focus to late-night shifts when exhaustion sets in, forges bonds that run deeper than casual workplace friendships. Trust is built quietly over time through countless small gestures, watching out for each other's safety, sharing a word of encouragement when someone's flagging, or stepping in without being asked when a task needs help. There are little traditions and rituals too, like prank wars that involve a mysteriously misplaced wrench, or decorating helmets with stickers and messages before night shifts. These moments inject humor and lightness into what can be an overwhelmingly serious and stressful setting. Together, these shared experiences create a genuine sense of family, transforming what might otherwise feel like crushing isolation into a close-knit community where every person's well-being truly matters. Even with the punishing schedule and the constant mental and physical challenges that define life on an oil rig, the reality is clear. This demanding lifestyle is not going away anytime soon. Oil rigs are not a temporary fixture on the world's oceans. They are built to last, and their operation is expected to continue well into the middle of the century. and quite possibly beyond that. While conversations about green energy and sustainability grow louder every year, and the world shifts toward cleaner alternatives, the fact remains that the global demand for oil is still immediate, pressing, and very real. There is a huge infrastructure, an entire economy, still deeply reliant on fossil fuels, and until that changes drastically, these rigs will keep churning out the energy that powers modern life. This means many more years, decades, even of workers living in cramped quarters, where privacy is a luxury, taking showers timed down to the second to conserve precious water, following regimented routines that leave little room for spontaneity, and constantly surrounded by the low, steady hum of massive machinery operating tirelessly beneath the ocean's surface. So the next time you pull up to the gas station to fill your car's tank, or turn on the heater to warm your home on a chilly day, it's worth pausing for a moment to think about the thousands of men and women who make that possible. These workers sacrifice a great deal, their comfort, their sleep, and sometimes even their health, all so that the world's energy demands are met without interruption. Their strength goes far beyond physical endurance. It's a mental toughness that is honed through months of isolation and grueling work, a discipline that keeps them focused during long shifts that stretch day and night, and the unbreakable bonds they form with their crewmates in the face of shared hardship. The relentless 17-day stretches, with little more than a few minutes to catch their breath between tasks, test their limits in ways most people can barely imagine. Yet, it is their dedication, their resilience, and their unwavering commitment that keep the lights on and the engines running, even when the ocean is rough, the storms rage, and the nights stretch endlessly long. This isn't just a job, it's a way of life, one shaped by sacrifice, solidarity, and an ironclad sense of responsibility. Every pipe tightened, every alarm checked, every step climbed on those narrow steel walkways is a testament to the grit and determination of those who choose this life. And while the world debates the future of energy, these workers remain the backbone of today's system, the unsung heroes quietly powering everything from the fuel in your car to the electricity that lights up entire cities. Their story is one of endurance and heart, a reminder that behind every barrel of oil lies a human story of struggle, strength, and relentless perseverance on the high seas.